G'day everybody. I want to talk about Rolls Royce and insurance. Now when it comes to you buying yourself a nice fancy Rolls Royce, right? It comes with a Rolls Royce insurance. Means they like to fix the car or want to know exactly what happens if it gets fixed from someone else. As it's their name and they want to have a good name on what they do. And so they have this way of doing things that most companies don't. That they just pass the buck and stuff like those companies, or just don't care as they have enough money and they don't care about how they see themselves. They'll do anything for money type of people, so they won't do something. The Rolls Royce, right, they like to make sure that their reputation is a good one. Right? So when it comes to the things I've made, as I talked about, things get better. Sometimes things get worse in life. But it doesn't mean what you make is a bad thing, or what you make now is not as good as what you made then. And it doesn't mean it. Right? So I've been giving out and starting my new spiritual path and starting again when it comes to art. I understand the basics of art, and so you've got to start from the bottom and here kind of thing, right? And you've got to do the best of what you can do with the time you're in, so the things you've got, what's around you, what's happening. And God always says if you do your best, it should always work out as a good thing, right? Not a bad thing. Not a, oh, that's not good enough. Have you ever heard someone say that when you give someone a gift, you're trying to get a good thing happen, you give a gift, and in the end, there's a fight because the gift just wasn't good enough, and you felt like that you shouldn't even gave anything, right? You'd rather not be known or invited. As when you were given something, you were put down for what you gave. And that can happen. You've never even given that. You know what I mean? Sometimes people can get that same conversation where perhaps you're just a taker and not a giver. And in certain areas, there's a balance. Some people could be right, but then sometimes a lot of people could be wrong. So when it comes to my art, and I've talked about it, and the things I do sometimes, even work sometimes, I give a guarantee my own way. It's up to me to do it. And for my own reputation, all that kind of stuff, and how I feel, do unto others that wish to be done to you kind of thing. And I'm legit on that. Not the one just do anything for mine. Right? And so when it comes to getting gifts, doesn't mean the gift's not good now, doesn't mean the gift won't be better later. Doesn't mean someone's giving you something that's not as cool as they've given you in a moment where you believe you should get something cooler, doesn't mean it's not cooler. Or a lot of heart hasn't been put into it. Because heart is not cool unless you want it to be. I believe it is. But cool is what people believe. What is spread around that is cool. Wow, that's cool. As a lot of people will follow it as it's cool. And so when it comes to, say I gave a gift, I give a gift and you're just starting, you don't have much material, but you put a lot of time in, a lot of heart and effort. Sometimes you put a lot of time and heart and effort with shit and get nowhere. But you still tried, you still did it, you know what I mean? Researchers know all about that. Trying to fix diseases and stuff. And so I've noticed people, when you go to give them something that they don't expect, they reject. It's a few things they don't know. What is it? I don't know, kill it and ask questions later. Kind of thing. It's just that. And you give out a gift and they go, what is that? That's crap. I don't want that. I wanted something else. Why did you give me that? I was expecting this. And get all these thoughts that they keep to themselves, maybe, won't say to your face. They're not realising what the gift is and what it means, and what it can be. And so later on, they have a whinge, you have a fight, you don't want to be there, you know that one. Well, you say nothing. You have these thoughts, but you don't put them out to the public. Right? And then later on, the person comes back and gives you another gift. And they say, because you never said nothing, no fight went down, all this, I still kept to the feelings of my true feelings of what I want to do. And you knew the circumstances, as you said. This is pretty much what goes in. And you can go back, and these people, have you ever seen people come back and give you, it's like a ring, how someone gives you a ring to get married, and they go, I'll get you a better ring later. I need to find out something, or I need more finance, and so on. Bit of both. And so you come back, and that gift gets upgraded. So you can either upgrade the gift, I talk about get to know me, which is why people should get to know people before they make true decisions of what they believe they are. You should always make decisions. You can always have a thought of what you believe they are, but you never put it into, oh yeah, that sounds, until you get facts on it. Facts usually take time to research. So a lot of us don't really know people out there. As even in killer shows, they go to your next door neighbour, because you're killing, you don't even know. Right? Because you don't truly know them. Only certain people, which is why they say family is precious, because it's usually the ones that are around you the most, get to know you the most, truly. So these gifts can be upgraded. And so, because there was no thought, someone comes back, gives you a gift, upgrades it. How do you feel that? Who would feel the best? The one that assumes, the one that believes that it should get what it wants, can't meet in the middle, doesn't understand, it just understands its fault. Or should it be the one that understands its own faults and understands other people's, and then it gets that outcome where it gets another gift because of that understanding. And it took time. But that only happens if the other one understands too, which is why we need equal education from the right areas. That's why we have Bibles and stuff. And so when it comes to my gifts, I've talked about before, I've given out certain things, and myself and certain people too wanted to give more but couldn't, right? But gave what they can or mentioned what they can, and hope that that will do, and no negative will come. I've talked about that before. And hope for the positive. And then you say nothing, things can still work out. It's like a hope. Right? The ones that say that nothing are hopey, they can assume, but there's still a hope, aren't they? Right? Where should you have hope for? Hope for the good side, or hope for the one that I was talking about that wanted certain things, and it's getting cranky now because it had hopes that you wanted it. You were going to satisfy what you wanted, but you couldn't. Right? Now, in that area, some people, like I said, there's always a balance. Sometimes someone could have done better. You know that someone could do better, and they said they would do better, but then they don't do better. That means they deserve that conversation, I said at the start, where the person could sound bad. But it depends on the conversation with who they're speaking to, you see. And you'll never know that until time you get into know things. Or learn a life lesson. Now what I call a life lesson is something that you learn, and once you learn it, you make a decision, you go from there. You'll repeat it, or you move from it. And if you move from it, that means you make the right decision, that means you're being righteous. You definitely move forward to what you've learned, to the positive, righteous way. Or you take it in and you copy others, and they do bad, you do bad. And you believe that's all you can do, and you go that way. And you might get the outcome that they all do. Right? And that's what continues out there, constantly, all the time. And so people miss out on these upgrades. So when it comes to mine, I like to give a gift, find out a few things. That's what life is. And you don't even do it. It comes natural. Right? You do these things, you can do them naturally, and then you can find out your answers naturally. You keep on following. Right? As we've learnt areas like a program to help us have common sense and to move on yourself, right? Which is why we go to school. Because we're meant to do this schooling, where when we leave school, we should be able to work out all the rest of it. We're going, shit up, I didn't know this because it didn't teach me enough common sense in certain areas to not have to go, I don't know what's going on, I need to go back to school. right? Which a lot of people do. Right, these days, but that's sad, isn't it? Because we're meant to know these basic common sense, and then when we go to learn next, they're meant to teach us the same thing in those areas. So we can move on instead of keep getting repeated every day. So some people you can teach and tell, and then every day they're rather just ask, like a child looking for something in a pantry. You know, the Vegemites in the pantry. They go look in school, pantry might get full, going down occasionally, and it comes full. And the kid goes in there, and you know that the Vegemite's in there. The kid goes, there's no Vegemite in the pantry. They're standing there at the door, looking. They might shut around a little bit. And then they go, there's no Vegemite in the pantry. Why does the kid do that? Is it because it believes it'll get away with a lie? Even though the older person that supplies the Vegemite said there's Vegemite in there. Is it because the person that said there's Vegemite in there usually lies, and so the kid could be right? The kid had a good look, but there's no Vegemite, right? Or is the kid being lazy and doing what he does most of the time while they're caught a kid? Trying to take the easy way around it by saying that they believe they've done something like cleaning their room, but they haven't. To see if the parent will come in and solve the issue by falling for the trick, or give up and clean the room for them. The Vegemite is here, go look for it. Here it is. Oh, there it is. I told you the Vegemite's in there. Now to stop that, what you have to do is you've got to call it tough loving. So if that repeats and things don't want to change, they want to be that person, get you to do it all the time. Pass the buck, because you do it, right? And you keep doing it. You keep explaining. They'd rather take that explain to make their life easier with the search. They don't care if you're called stupid or every time they tell you. They get used to it, like taking your shoes off. And so how do you stop something to get used to something? Like my cat, or Alice's cat. It comes in, it used to not come in much. It used to be taught, trained, but they forget they're like a raptor. And wants to shit all the time. Told it off about this shit, and you've even put its face right up to the shit every time it's shit. You go, look, you just shit there. Now you're going outside because you get this cat. And yet the cat keeps coming in, and you keep showing it beside it, getting violent and trying to beat it up. Then usually that makes it scared. They won't play it. Violence usually doesn't solve that. You either just kick them out, or you keep putting up with that down, or you try to find out another way, like putting something there, a bad smell, something to deter it, and then it goes and shits over there, which is what I've done through life and other people. You try all these tricks, but it still comes in and wants to shit. What are you meant to do? Now beat it up? Now just go, that's it, you never come in again. Or do you just change where you make it longer? So instead of putting up with every day, you change it to maybe 2 weeks. Would that help? Would at least help make the issue not an issue of long, like every day the cat comes in and shit. But no, it's creating a step in another direction to see if you can get an answer. And if that happens, you ask it a few times of that, and it comes in, and then it gets to the time where it's like every time, like I'll talk about staying home a lot, pretty much most times I go out, there's an incident. Because look, if I went out a lot, there'd be incidents all the time. That's why I stay at home, why I keep the cat. And so you bring the cat in, you keep shitting, pretty much shit. Might stop once or twice, and then it does it another 2 or 3 times. It doesn't really stop. The pattern continues. And you try that a few times, still doesn't get it. It all depends on memory and all that kind of stuff when it comes down to the creatures, but you know these cats remember. You even know that they're doing wrong because they're shitting and then running. As soon as you go, what the hell? They're running off. They know that it's them. You'll come out and this thing's freaking out because it knows it's done wrong. But it can't help but keep shitting. Right? So what is that? Is it because the creatures are spastic and in some sort of way it needs special care? Right? And that's how you get the answer. Right? If you keep doing the other one, you just be there forever. You never do no change on something that's a pattern, like I talked about with the government. You just be there with the pattern, won't you? In fact, the patterns can get worse, not better, until you finally figure out a better way, slow down, stop, pause, stay in several life, get better, and so on. That's how you know it's progressing. And time and history, you look at on the areas where we believe they're progressing. And what is progress? Right? Some people believe they get a whole bunch of materials, get some money for the day and a big paycheck from the other person is progress. But not necessarily. What be one man's junk can be another man's treasure. And that's what progress could be like too. There's a lot of people rushing, get jealous and bullies, have wars like at the moment with Gaza. They talked about a lot of progress a few years ago. But what is progress to them now? Right? Obviously there was no progress because they didn't get their priorities straight when it comes to leaders and actions before them. And then they believe that materials and a plan for their plan, even though it's not a study or righteous plan or equal plan, is progress. Anyway, I thought I had a little play. I'll have a share with you there. Janice, have you started wrinkling yet? Are you ready to get out of the bath? Alright. I'm wrinkling up. You don't want to stay in the water too long when you start wrinkling. And hot water, the hotter the water is, the quicker that happens. So you let me know if you've got any points in that shower chat today. It was a little bit of a yo-yo conversation. Bit here, bit of there. And like I said before, education only works for a certain level. You can't stick a school kid that's at primary school level into a college room. You can give them the same education to someone else and it will work because they're already educated to that level to understand it. If you chuck that school kid in there, what are you going to get? Perhaps you might get your local government system. With too many chefs in the pot, perhaps you chuck in a few of those kids. What would you get? Will you get a downgrade society? Well, I hope the people do the right thing in a little bit of the righteous area that I was talking about earlier in this conversation. They might find that things can get better, so that piece of crap gift you thought was a piece of crap can turn into something else. A little bit like the Mr. Squiggle, the man from the man. Right? Shows one thing, a little bit more thought, a little bit more conversation, no argument, they carry on. He was allowed to show more than what was said. But with the blackboard seems to be that old history repeat that makes things not become, because it keeps saying, what does it keep saying in that show? It keeps saying, hurry up! It doesn't, right? Because, I don't know, it's got some place it needs to go quicker. It's just cranky because it can't do what he does. I don't know. There could be many reasons, but who's the cranky one and why? And he succeeds more in what area? Because when it comes to Mr. Squiggle, there's a blackboard favourite. There's the blackboard get all nice conversations about it being there and that they're glad the blackboard's there. And the blackboard itself doesn't even want to be there, but it knows it has to. Now that sounds like some government systems, doesn't it? They'd have a good one out of this.